Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Build Your Foundation. I'm joined by Daniel Hale, who's currently a realtor helping investors and individuals in the Hamilton and surrounding region. Daniel Hale is also a BJJ martial artist, having owned a gym, and I guess you were pretty well renowned.
Yeah, guess so.
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
was, yeah.
it was pretty crazy because when we met you, we obviously met you from the real estate lens. You had just, I guess, been a realtor for a little bit. But PB, the other trustee at Foundation Capital, he also participates in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it was crazy because obviously his coach, who's also fairly well known, is like, oh yeah, I know Daniel Hill. And then we're to find out that, you were very competitive and in the space. It was actually pretty, like, not shocking to say, but pretty cool and interesting. And obviously Build Your Foundation is all about, building your foundation for health, wealth, and success, and really highlighting our investors that are embodying all of that. So obviously great to have you, Daniel. So Dan, tell us a little bit about, like, how'd you even get here? Like, before, like, obviously you're an investor in Foundation Capital Partners Trust. You've done some lending with us. You're investing in real estate. You do some stocks. You're a realtor helping other investors. But, like, before you got into real estate, like, tell me your journey.
Yeah. Um, so I started martial arts at a young age. I was in judo at like 5, 6 years old. And then
And your
if
parents were
you
just into martial arts and got you in.
no, I was a very hyper kid. Like really, really hyper. Like, I'd love to just like wrestle in the street. I was a WWF like kid where I'd watch like WWF and just want to go practice the moves after on
Right.
random kids on my front lawn. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it started. And then my mom was like, I gotta put this kid into something. And
Use
then
your
she
energy
put
up. Yeah.
yeah, and she put me and my brother in it, and it's actually the complete opposite, man, because people like I see a lot of parents that are like, "Oh, my kid's very aggressive, like he likes to wrestle, he likes to do this stuff. I don't want to put him in there because if I train him and teach him how to do it, he might hurt somebody." It's complete opposite. You put them in martial arts, and that's what happened with me. I started young, and because you're always doing it, you never want to do it when you're not there. It's like it's one of those things, and then I was training a lot and doing that. So I started in judo at like 5 years old. Then I went to Taekwondo and I was like, I think I was 14 at that time. And to tell you the whole story, I like went to Taekwondo class and they opened up a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class. And it was funny because like they did it once a week and it was like a Tuesday night. I still remember. And the coach that walked in was an old guy. Like he was an older guy. And I was like, oh man, like older guy, I'm 14. I just, was just a cocky little punk. And I didn't think like much of it. I was like, oh, this guy's not gonna beat me up. And he just literally handled me like I was like just a little kid. Like I was like stapled to the ground, like you know what I mean? Like couldn't move. And after that, I was like, whoa, like the difference between these martial arts is like night and day. So I realized like I got obsessed with it. And then I started not going to Taekwondo. I was just waiting for that one night a week to go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, I should probably find a school that's full time. And like at that time, what's that, like 20 something years ago? Yeah, at that time there wasn't a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gyms. There was one called Combat Arts that was a half an hour away in Mississauga. And now there's a lot. But then there was like very few. It was still like the quieter Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu days.
Yeah.
And then me and my
When
brother, we
I guess Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wasn't as well known and only became popular
no,
due to the rise and success of the UFC, right? Because
100%. At that time, there was like 3 or 4 black belts in Canada. Like it was like if you had a black belt, it was very like prestigious in Canada at that time. So I went there and I started training with Mark Bochak, who was in the UFC as well. And I started training with him. I stayed there full time. Then I got really obsessed and was like, I want to
how
train with the best in the world.
how old are you at this point?
17, 18. Yeah, so I spent a couple years there. And then I realized I was like, I want to train with the best in the world. So I did the whole, I was always like an analytical, like data driven kind of dude. So like I went online to literally find out who the best in the world was at my
And so wait,
weight.
you're 17.
Yeah.
Okay, so now
Yeah.
you've been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 3 years, like after school, right?
Always.
And
Dude,
are
just
you working at this time or doing any work, or are you just
very little part time. Like I worked at Little Caesars. I worked at Dollarama. I had a couple of those jobs. I worked at a cologne store once before too, and I was the guy. I was like holding the sign out front of the Little Caesars. You know, I was on
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
corner,
hot and ready?
freezing in the winter
Yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
holding it. You know, I was doing that whole thing, and I literally, man, honestly, I'd save up 2 grand because at that time flying out of Buffalo was like 170 bucks round trip. So
Okay.
I would save up 2 grand. Every single time I got 2 grand, I would leave until I lost that, like the 2 grand was done. So I would go to Buffalo, I'd get my round trip for 170 bucks. I'd get my extended stay in Atlanta, Georgia, which was like again not that expensive, couple $100 for a week. And then the rest of the remaining funds like would be I'd go towards privates. And my parents would help me too. They gave me some money too, like for my travels. But I was like, okay, how much do I got left? 800 bucks. How many privates can this get me? Privates are like 100
And
bucks an hour.
you're in Atlanta, Georgia, and you're paying for privates in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So what I did was I went online and I watched the World Championships. This was like I think 2007 World Championship.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I don't want to just find the best in the world. I want to find the best in the world at my weight class. Like who's the closest size to me? Because that kind of made sense to me because I was like, if I do that, then I can emulate that style and my body type is the same as that. So it made sense. And he was living in Brazil at that time. His name was Rubens Charles Maciel. They call him Cobrinha as a nickname. And I found out he got a 3-year visa to go to Atlanta to teach from Brazil. So
Oh,
I literally flew there the like week that he arrived. And then that's how that all started. And then stayed there, traveled back and forth. I was there a lot. Then
and
he
so
moved to
you're
California.
17, and you're 17 at this time.
Yeah, yeah.
You're 17 at this time. So for 3 years,
17, 18.
you're working part-time jobs. You're saving money, but you don't take privates yet. You're just training at the gym. And where were you based at this time?
I was in
Like in
Burlington.
Hamilton or
Yeah,
Burlington?
Burlington.
Okay. So
Yeah.
3 years training in Burlington. You're like, I want to fight the best. I want to go train with the best. You go to Atlanta, Georgia. Um, and
Yeah.
then you're doing privates with this guy. What is this guy thinking? I guess when you're going to the gym.
Man, the coach thought I was crazy because I would come off of the plane and I wouldn't go to the hotel first. I'd go to the gym first. And I remember I'd lug my luggage in with me and I'd put it down and pull my uniform, my gi out and everything, and just change and go straight to the mat. So it was like just, that couple hours of travel, pull my stuff out, train. And I was just like that again, hyper, man, just wanted to train.
You were
And
locked in because like for most probably like 17, 18-year olds, they're probably thinking I'm gonna just hang out with my friends, chill out, whatever. But you're like, no, I'm focused
that's
on
it.
this. I'm gonna be the best at this. So then
That's it.
nice. And then how did that go? So I guess
Yeah, it went good, man. Like, I ended up opening a gym after because I was still like traveling a lot for training. And I was like, at that time, I got my purple belt. And I said to my instructor, I was like, every time I go back to Canada, I feel like I don't really have a solid place to train for me. Cause again, it was still quieter at that time. And Burlington didn't have a lot of gyms. The closest one, again, was like 20 minutes, half an hour away. So I opened up my own spot inside of a Premier Fitness. I just bought mats and invited people to train all the time, and he just told me, he's like, whenever you go back home you drill what I show you until you come back. And I was like, okay.
oh wow.
So every month and a half to 2 months I was like, okay, I need to go back now because I feel like I've exercised everything so much
So
that I've learned.
wait, so you're going in, you're getting privates, you're learning like new concepts, new things. Then you're returning back to Canada because you're running out of money for privates. You're living at home, I'm assuming at this time.
Yeah.
And then you're working whatever part-time job. And then when you don't have the part-time job, you're just drilling the exercises.
Yeah. and they were cool. They let me go. They were like, they got that I was like kind of addicted to this, and like I would go, I'd do the privates, I'd stop the private, I'd write everything down in a book so my mind didn't forget, and then I'd come home with it. I'd train there
That's
for like
sick.
two weeks, and then I'd do it again, and I
This
just
is
kept doing it
awesome.
and doing it.
This
Yeah, and
is
then
amazing.
yeah, and then he
Super
left from
cool.
Atlanta to California, and I just followed him. So like wherever he went in the world to open a gym, I just followed.
Okay, and was he part of the Gracie family or
Uh
his? Or,
Alliance family, but I think kind of everybody at that time had a little bit of a Gracie lineage because it was just
yeah,
like they
yeah,
started it all. You know what I mean? So like still then is like his coach did have one with them. So it was
yeah.
just like it was still everything was so new, man, compared to what it is now and the way it's adapted and evolved is it's crazy, man.
Can you imagine you could have just probably been able to watch YouTube videos and train at home and not do all the travel you had to do necessarily right now?
Now you can buy online subscriptions and watch videos and drill and do that stuff. It's different. It's still different than being with the person and feeling their technique, but it's still like very relatable. And it's like back then, you watch the UFC and it's like everybody had a style. It was like somebody, you were a wrestler, you were a jiu-jitsu guy, or you were a striker.
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now the best in the world, they're everything. Like
Mixed,
they're
mixed. Yeah,
good at all of it. But then it was like, Matt Hughes, you're a wrestler, and then all of a
yeah.
sudden, George St. Pierre came in that could do a little bit of both. And then all of a sudden that he got great at everything.
Produce
But
paper
back
out
then,
everyone, but it was
yeah,
crazy 'cause, yeah, like I grew up watching like okay now Shogun's the light heavyweight.
yeah,
Like no, sorry, Lyoto Machida's now the light heavyweight. And you're like okay, and then
yeah.
you're like, what is happening when Rampage is the light heavyweight? And you're like, what is this order of things? Like every kind of bout was like pretty crazy because it was different styles going at each other, right?
Yeah, man. You had Chuck Liddell's overhand right. And even though he threw it
Yeah,
every
yeah,
fight and still landed it, people couldn't kind of figure that out. Nowadays, obviously Chuck's the man, but nowadays that would get figured out. It's like it's evolved so much, you know?
yeah. So then you're obviously traveling along, you're learning this. Like, how old are you when you first open your first gym?
Oh, I was like 19, 18. I was young. I
Okay,
actually got a lot of flack for it, man.
okay. So when you're okay, wow. So when you're opening it,
Yeah.
you're a purple belt,
Yeah.
and you like how do you have the money to do this? Like you just go up to the premier or the
Yeah,
premier
so
fitness.
so it was a smart business play. I went into the Premier Fitness. They had a big room that nobody was really using. And I was like, listen, I want to teach martial arts in your facility. I'll give you a percentage. Let's work out the percentage so that there's no overhead for me. There's no monthly fees for me. Everything's profit. It's just, I have to split it though, right? Like
When
a,
did
a
you
portion.
where did you learn to come up with this negotiation?
Yeah.
At this point, like were you did you do any secondary schooling outside of high school?
Just
Uh,
just for just for real estate, but my dad was very business savvy all the time, like very, very big into business, buying real estate, running a heating and air conditioning company.
okay.
But the kind of gets interesting for me because all of this was almost like I did love martial arts, but business was always first for me. Everything else was second. And I read a lot of books. Like, man, I was kind of funny story, but I used to go to golf courses and I was allowed, I got permission to do this after hours. And I would go and I would walk around the course and I'd collect all the balls that people lost and I'd bring them home and I'd shine them and I'd put them in egg cartons. Once you finish the 12 eggs, you put them in the egg cartons. And I would go on knock on doors. And the funniest thing, because they were all really good golf balls, I'd shine them, I'd clean them, I'd put them in the eggs, and I'd knock on doors. And no one ever slammed it in my face. No one ever told me to leave. People started actually asking me when I was coming back, and like I'd knock on the door, and the wife would be like, yell at her husband, be like he's here, and he'd run to the door, and he'd bring his wallet and be like, "What do you got for me?" Like I I sold a lot of golf balls.
How old were
And
you when you started doing this?
that time I was like maybe 12, maybe 14 around there.
Oh
Like I was
wow,
young. I was
nice.
young. Yeah, my grandpa worked at the golf course, so I got permission to go and just
Okay.
collect all the time. I was collecting them. And this is smart because it was to me like, everybody wants golf balls. They're expensive. And I had
Yeah.
like Nikes, I had Titleist, I had like all the high end brands, and some of them brand new because they showed it once and they lose it. And you're just like, that I get it. And that's it. I sold them. So it
Nice.
was a business play for me. So I kind of knew. And then with the gym thing, that's what I did. I was like, let's do a portion here. So I don't have any overhead. I'm not anchored down. Don't have a landlord. We're splitting the funds,
Yeah,
and
and I
that's
guess
what I did.
how did that negotiation come up? Because I'm sure the gym owner was probably like, "What the hell's going on?" But I guess maybe that was a feature
Yeah.
they were going to sell.
Yeah, he was, but they already had some punching bags in there and some mats and stuff because they let people use them. And gyms now, even now, man, like they're always looking for added revenue, especially right now because things are tough and there's a lot more gyms now. It's not as easy. So, yeah, the negotiation is pretty easy. It was just kind of like, to be honest, he was like, "Yeah, we're open to it. Let's try it." It's like, "How much do you think we could charge? What do you want to split? How many days do you want to do?" And it worked out so good for me because I started teaching martial arts in there, and then I'd use their weights after. Then I'd have the sauna. Then so I actually had my facility now where I was like, okay, I can train now. This is good. You
Okay,
know?
yeah. So what
Yeah.
were you doing beforehand? I guess for training outside of, were you paying for your own gym
Traveling.
membership and stuff and all
I was
that?
going, yeah. So I was traveling to other gyms. I was driving like half an hour away. And I noticed too, that's also another reason why I did it. It's kind of weird, man. But the way the jiu-jitsu world is sometimes is like if you're not on the team officially, then like they kind of shun you or don't want you in the gym, or it's like you come in there and they get a little bit upset if you like, I guess, outdo their guys because that's kind of like a thing. They want you on the team. And I didn't want to join any team locally because I was so obsessed with my coach over there. Like, and I felt if I did that, then I wouldn't be able to train with him. So I was like, I got to figure this out. I need a spot here because I knew what I was learning with him far like exceeded everything else that I was learning anywhere else. So I was like, I can't keep hopping around gyms 'cause I could tell the vibe was off. They didn't really want me doing that. So I was like, okay, I gotta start my thing. I gotta do it, and
Nice.
I
So then,
got I got a lot of backlash for it.
and how did it go though?
Sorry? Sorry?
How did it go? Like when you first start off, like is it
Yeah,
successful? Like
it
are people
was. It
pounding
was
on your door, or
it,
or are they like, oh shit, you got to start doing some marketing?
yeah, it was really like I got backlash from like the black belts for it because I was this young guy, purple belt, doing my gym. But I think a lot of people were also like, oh, I can't say too much because Cobrinha was the best in the world, like my coach. So it was like,
Right.
okay, like he's learning from somebody that is the best in the world. So I think it was a little bit more relaxed. But it went well because again, all those people, there was like 2,000 members working out all the time. So they would walk by and I'd have that traffic where I could just stop people and be like, hey, you want to come try a class? Hey, you want to train? You want to try this out?
Dude,
So like,
it's funny. I go to Good Life, and obviously PB trains in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. For me to go out and try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's like, oh man, I gotta go. It seems a little intimidating, whatever. But like,
yeah,
if this was like Good Life, like, and I go to the Good Life, and if it was right there, and the guys like come in, I'd be like, yep, I'll sign up. Why not?
yeah, it's just right at your disposal, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's kind of how it went. And I got a good amount of members doing it, and we gave them a discount if they were doing weights plus that. But yeah, it was great, man. I was making really good money for 3 days a week teaching jujitsu compared to
Okay,
going to
nice.
Little Caesars and holding the sign.
Yeah. So were you doing other jobs at the same time as this, or
No,
just
at that
continuing?
point I stopped. I just focused on that because it was making me more money. And then that gym actually, the entire facility went under. I was forced to open up my own club at that time. And
Oh,
then
no way.
that's when I did that.
And how
Then
old are
when
you
I'm
at this point? How old are you at this point?
20,
Oh, so it's very quickly. So your business is growing. It's quick, shortly, but I guess they went
yeah,
under.
I think I
And
was like, yeah, 2021. I was there for a couple of years at that gym, and Premier Fitness owned like 150 gyms across like Ontario. They were like the alpha before LA Fitness and Good
oh
Life
yeah,
showed
and then
up.
Good Life bought them, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were the alpha, like literally, like they owned all of the gyms. And then some of them started unfortunately not doing as well, and other ones were supporting those ones. And then they all kind of, some of them stayed, some of them left. And then at that time, I had to go sign a 4-year lease with a landlord at like 21. And yeah, that got interesting because this guy was looking at me like, "Who is this young dude? Like, this is kinda crazy," and, like,
And this
you
is in
know,
Burlington.
this is in Burlington, across the street from the Burlington Mall, yeah.
Okay, and then how much money have you saved up at this point, or like, how are you affording to go sign this lease?
I had a good amount of money at that time. I saved up, I think I had, like, 60,000
Oh,
for
nice.
for that time, for
For
being around
for
that age, 60
for,
60 to
for,
80 grand.
for 2021, that's pretty good, considering
Yeah.
you're trading predominantly and
Yeah,
just started making.
I was living at home, no expenses, and I also kind of got lucky the way that I structured my lease and the way I was able to take the equipment from the gym with me, which would have it was
Oh,
expensive, right?
nice.
And then how I got that 80 grand, this was a play that I did where I negotiated 6 months free rent with the new landlord to get my facility ready. I told the contractors, I was like, guys, I need this place ready in less than 2 months because I need 4 months of free rent where I can just like stack, I could just stack money and just
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, yeah.
So like I got one portion of the gym ready, like fast, started coaching immediately while they started working on the other portion. I got everything done in 2 months. And
Nice.
I paid them the first and last month's deposit. So I had 8 months time before I had to start paying
And
that
what was the
like
rent that you had to pay for this place?
3,500 bucks all in.
Okay, okay, not bad.
Yeah, yeah. So not bad. I was like, okay, I get 25 members, I break even, but then I got to get my money back from my renos and all my stuff. So I knew I was like, the good thing for me though is like I showed up with like 40 to 50 members because I had that gym previously.
Amazing. And then
So
how big did you grow to?
I think the most I had was like 120,
Oh
something
wow.
around there. So it wasn't bad. Wasn't amazing. It was, I think, like, we were doing probably like 10K a month, maybe something like that after expenses. And you know, I realized literally like this whole thing, man, was like other than the martial arts of training, was business for me. Like, I did enjoy it, but I've always loved business. That's what I'm more obsessed with. So even now, people are like, "How's this guy not train much anymore? How did he just stop, do this?" And like, I get this flack all the time. I'm like, well, I'm 36 now. I still enjoy the martial art, but it's more like business for me. Like, what can I do next? What can I keep growing and growing and growing? That's what more
100%.
excites me and
And
wakes me
and I think
up.
and I think
You
you have to
know?
consider, like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't say this, but, like, you're not gonna go become the UFC champion of the world, or
Yeah.
make, like, $10 million fight doing a like a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fight at this time. So
Yeah.
you gotta
Yeah.
put money on the table for your family and your kids. And
Yeah.
so you think about how, like, but honestly, man, hearing your story, what I'm hearing is like, yeah, you've been using business all throughout, and obviously, it seems like the background that you've had with both your grandfather and your father, giving you some of those business fundamentals, you applied since you were at a young age, and then kind of got to a point where, cool, this is making sense. And when you're young, you're making this money. It's awesome. I guess a couple of years are passing by. You're making it same money, maybe a little bit more, but it's really not kind of skyrocketing further, right?
Yeah. And then that's the thing. COVID hit. And then
Uh,
I promised myself, I said, okay, I'm tired of this like bylaw knocking on my door, making sure we're not physically wrestling, making sure I have hand sanitizer. They were checking in on the gym. And I was like, guys, there's no such thing as distance martial arts. Like, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I started locking my door and we would train. And they would knock on the door. Literally, I'm not joking, man. They were annoying. And I said to my landlord, I was like, listen, I'm gonna give you an early heads up. If this goes past, and he was a good landlord, he actually discounted my rent at that time because he knew what was going on. I said to him, if this goes further than 1 year, then I'm done. Like I'm gonna leave the gym. We'll keep it going. Like I wasn't coaching as much because we weren't allowed. We were doing like online classes. It was insane. And I was like, if we go past this year, then like I'm gonna just close it up and finish everything. And he was cool about it. He understood. He's like, yeah, no, I don't blame you. So I paid for that year, and then I was like, okay, what did I just spend, 25, 30 grand, even with the discount that like, I was getting most of it back but the thing at that time, I had to put so many memberships on hold because people weren't training and can come in. So I had to respect that. I put it on hold for them. And then I was just
So
like,
now
yeah,
you're
no, I
burning a little
was
bit. You're burning a little bit of money each month, and now you're thinking, what do I do next?
well, oddly, I registered at Humber College for my real estate license before COVID hit.
Oh,
And
nice.
I did that like maybe 6 months before this all happened.
Oh,
And yeah, but I was studying very slowly. Like it was like, and in my mind I was like, okay, I want to take business to the next level. I keep making the same amount of money every single month like in the gym, and I just felt like I don't know, how big could I really grow it was my question compared to how big could I grow something in real estate or investing. And I just registered for that. But then when COVID hit, I was like, okay, this makes sense now. I should take my studying more seriously. I was doing the courses very slowly. And then when that hit and things shut down, I went like all in. Then I was like, okay, now I've got like way more time. Let's get licensed. Let's do it, you know?
nice. And
Yeah.
then you get it wrapped up with, and then you start. Um, when do you start kind of selling real estate?
Very quick. Because what I did was during the time when COVID was happening, I applied for a property management position in Hamilton. And I got a leasing job as in property management. So you didn't need a real estate license to do leasing. So I was doing a ton of leasing during that time while I was studying and doing school. And I was like just learning so much about landlord tenant board, learning about landlords, how to deal with their properties. Like I was working with Ping, and he taught me so much. Like honestly, he's a big reason as to why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And I learned a ton. I was working with him, and then as soon as I got my license, he was like, "Hey, stick with us. Let's keep selling real estate." And I had all those landlords at my disposal. So like we were immediately like it's like right out the gate. I had my first listing in like a week. So like for real estate agents that are starting out that want to work with investors, go get a property management job. It's honestly like you get your license, property management company takes a portion of the commission, but they're feeding you so much landlords and teaching you, and it's so beneficial,
You know,
man. It was probably one of the best things I ever did.
watched the episode, last episode with Emma that I just released yesterday. But Emma actually, she started off as a DJ and became a realtor as well. And what she did was she joined Zoocasa, and
Ah,
Zoocasa
I know
actually
them.
did one where they fed her leads. And
Yeah,
a lot of people said, "Oh, why would I split the commission with Zoo because
yeah,
of the lead?" And Emma's like, "No, no, this is perfectly fine. Let me learn." And she started, I think, doing leasing as well there because they're like, "Oh, if you're going to come here and we're going to take a chance on you, you got to start from the bottom, right?" And so she,
yeah,
so she did leasing, then she did work Zoocasa leads, and she was making multiple six figures just purely working Zoocasa
yeah,
leads, right? So it's
yeah.
interesting that you say that because clearly that's the hack, right? Like everyone always thinks they can just build
Big time.
it from scratch behind of nothing versus
Yeah.
50%. Obviously, as you build a brand, you build recognition, you can go out and do your own thing. And obviously you can talk, yeah, please tell the audience more. Early on, it made sense for you to just get your foot in the door, get some wins under your belt, and just learn along the way so that you could then go out maybe on your own.
Yeah, so that's the thing, man. Just to touch on that, a lot of agents, even now, they're like, I don't want anybody taking any of my commission. I want 100% of it. And I'm like, you just got your license. You don't even know the ropes yet. Like, you don't like just, calm it down there. And I get it. It's like you want to get more money, but I'm obsessed with the show Shark Tank. I don't think I've ever missed an episode. And one of the things that Mark Cuban, if you ever listen to him, says to people all the time is like, would you rather 100% of a grape or a percentage of a watermelon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like when he said that, I'm like, so true, you know? And now I'm on my own, but I still like I do a lot of collaborating with the guys at EXP and everything. And you know, it's just like I think to start you should spend a good year or two, learn the paperwork, learn how to deal with like have a mentor. Even now, still have a mentor. But I do see that as being a big thing that people do, like say they want 100% of the money, but then they don't get much deals done. And then they're like stressed out. And for me, while I was doing this, I was building a brand. The biggest thing in my opinion to win, especially in 2026, 2025, is contacts and views, attention. If you can get attention, you're gonna destroy. And I read a lot of books. I'm obsessed with reading tons and tons of books. And there's something like was it omnipresence? I'm like that term to me is like sticks a lot. Is like everybody knows what Coca-Cola is. Everybody knows what Google is. Everybody knows what the Mac symbol is. And it's everywhere. Everywhere you go, it's always there. So I had to think to myself, okay, as a real estate agent, you can easily go broke by trying to be everywhere on all the billboards by just starting out because it's really expensive. So
Yeah.
I had a heavy social media background. I was doing acting a while before. We didn't touch on that, but I was doing a lot of acting and I
Cool.
was doing social
Anything
media.
anything we would have seen you in?
I did a show called US Weekly's Famous Feuds, which was pretty cool. It was like I
Oh,
played Brad Pitt on that. It was like where
oh,
they had like
cool.
celebrity feuds, and I did like Civil War Chronicles, other stuff like that, Paranormal Activity, like that was on Netflix, which is kind of cool.
You were in
But
Paranormal Activity?
or what's it? Paranormal Survivor, sorry.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Were you a
So
main actor in it, or were you like a
yeah,
background?
yeah, I was one of it's like one episode. You each get an episode of a half an hour. I could send it to you. I still have the link. So
Paranormal, what is this?
Survivor.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I was thinking to myself at that time, I'm like, if I'm gonna be the billboard guy, it's expensive. So I took it to social media instead. I took it to YouTube because YouTube you can get a lot of exposure for barely any money. Like
Yeah.
it's cheap. I can go on Fiverr and get someone to edit a video for $40. I put it out once a week. I get thousands and thousands of views. Now you're starting that business and that brand. So
And then,
like
where did you get this knowledge or this piece from?
that came from acting because I started to think to myself, I was like, you're doing all these auditions and people don't realize, man, when you're doing acting, you audition 100 times and you get two parts and everybody's like, oh my God, he's doing really well. And it's like, you have no idea how many auditions I did just to get those two
Probably
parts.
like 200,
I
200, right?
drove to Toronto 100 times to get one role that, it pays you maybe $1,500, $2,000. And you're like, sweet, okay, this is cool, but like, it's not what everybody thinks. And then that's when the COVID hit, like I was mentioning with the gym, I went to TikTok because I heard Gary Vee be like, if you're not on TikTok, you're crazy. It's new, it's going to explode. So I was like, wait a second, maybe if I can get a bunch of followers on TikTok, I can kind of jump in front of the audition phase and people will
Yeah,
want to hire me
people recognize
because
you. Yeah.
because they'll recognize me. So I grew a TikTok to 550,000 followers, and then I started getting brand deals. Whereas like people would start sending me stuff for like, I had like Pat Kids send me stuff. I had like a lot of things. People were sending me things and I was doing that. And that's where I
Cool.
was like, okay. Then I had that where I was like, all right, I can make, maybe $5,000 roughly through brand deals on TikTok a month, or I can take this social media game the exact same way I'm doing it to YouTube and social media. And now I'm getting 20, 30, $40,000 commission checks by doing that. So I
That's
I switched
awesome.
it up because I was like, wait a sec, I can make way more money doing it the real estate way, and that's how I shifted it. So I got pretty like lot like it's like the GPS
You're
wasn't straight, man.
Yeah, but I think that's the thing that people forget is like, especially in entrepreneurship, it's not a pathward upwards. It's always like this, and you're always going in so
Man,
many different directions.
yeah.
Funny enough, Daniel, I literally cleaned up I was able to recover my old TikTok account yesterday. I like had to hide a bunch of my videos, and I just posted another video last night because similar to you, even for us, I think the biggest thing is like we've obviously been in the space for a while. We're pretty heavy on like actually like proving ourselves through our track record from our results.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is like we need to just get ourselves out there and more in front of
100%.
folks so that they know the value that we're providing. And obviously, our growth means more growth for our investors as well. And
100%.
we're just doing not a terrible job, but we're not doing as great of a job as we can be.
Right.
And so then you've probably seen us ramping our social media, newsletters, everything kind of front. And it's funny, I went on TikTok and I posted a video and I just muted myself. I was looking at how many views am I at, and it was funny because even for myself, like I started off getting my CPA, I was working at accounting firms. Then I said, okay, I need to do like an entrepreneur kind of thing. And I had a
Yeah.
job in asset management. I bought real estate. While I bought real estate, I bought like duplexes, fourplex, and other stuff. I was doing a lot of dividend stock stuff as well. People don't know I had to set up a Bitcoin miner or crypto mining in my parents' house with like it was me,
No
PV,
way.
and everybody together. Yeah, we were mining that. We had I had a Bitcoin ATM at one point.
Man.
At one point for like a tea business, I was trying to do drop shipping for toothbrushes and toothpaste because I'm like everybody needs that recurringly. So when you say
Smart,
everything
man.
isn't really a straight line, it's a path to kind of get there, and you just kind of have to compound stuff. And I think the craziest thing for me is like I actually back in university won a business competition with my buddy because we said like social media influencers were the way of the future because we were like at that time early
Yeah.
YouTube. So like Philip DeFranco's still around right now, but it was like Philip DeFranco and like a couple of other like Cass MG and all those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm talking like 2007, 2008 time period. They're like dominating it. And I'm like, we're watching this every day after school. And I'm like, this is literally the attention that people are going to get. And that's where you're going to have to market. Cause like when they're talking about stuff, you're like, oh, cool. Like I'm into that. There's not like a blatant advertisement for the
Yeah.
thing. But we never ended up, me and my buddy were like, we should make a YouTube channel. And we never did. And like, I've always like come off on and off with that. But I want to say this year we probably did the most of our marketing that we have done in a while. And it's interesting from our investor calls, we've been able to tell even content that you might put out today doesn't necessarily translate to a sale today, but it builds up that value that we've got folks who invest with us who are like, I've been following your journey for 5 years.
Yeah,
And it's
man.
awesome what you've
Yeah.
been doing. And like, I'm ready to put some money in, or I got some money now, I just want to allocate to you guys. So I'm sure as people have seen your journey where you've just been like hammering away at BJJ, just
Yeah.
like killing it. And it's so funny because obviously PV's like coach and private trainer is
Yeah.
now an investor in our fund, and
Yeah.
obviously speaks highly of you. And obviously you guys get to reconnect as a result. And we're joking about this, but we should run a charity Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu match where all our venture capital investors that are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu martial artists need to fight. And then I'm like, oh yeah, we can get him and Daniel to fight in the finals.
That's hilarious, man. That's funny.
Uh,
That's the thing, man. That it's inspiring, man. That line of like what you're just saying and how you did it and how I did it. It's never straight, man. It's not, you know? And I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. They're like, "Aren't you worried about the real estate market?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." You know what I mean? Like I know it's not booming, you know, but the reality is if you know how to put an audience in front of you and grow that, then it's you'll always have business. And funny enough, I met you guys through YouTube. I was watching one of Jeff's videos back in the day, and that's how we got connected. So like all of that, it's it's how it works, man. As long as you know how to make money, and it's never going to be straight. But if you know understand business and how to get views, then it works.
Yeah, so I think a big thing basically to highlight anyone to watching is like even when it feels like you're doing nothing or like the market's bad, market's terrible, people ask this exact same question. And I say this because it was the same thing when I first started an accounting practice, and I thought I would never succeed at that time. It was crazy. But it's like, what can you do? You can work on your fundamentals. All right, you're gonna go just like you went and trained with your coach, and you came back and repeated it for 2 months until you went and saved up
Yeah,
money to go get training. We say, okay, cool. What can we do? All right, well, our main core business isn't necessarily doing this marketing thing. It helps us grow, but our core business is get results. So we go and we turn over units, we renovate them, do that solidly, manage that. Second aspect is, okay, cool. Like, let us provide value, and that's where like I'm sure the video you'll see today on YouTube that I launched is like, here's a deal analysis. Because
I'll
like
check it out. Yeah.
we're hearing these calls from people on like what, like, oh, I'm hearing about Alberta multifamily. What are your thoughts? I'm like, honestly, if you get me on the phone, this. Like, I'll talk to you about whatever you want to talk about and go through my thoughts and opinions on it. So it's like, oh, cool. I just need to get comfortable again on the camera, put out the content, like you said, even if it's a slow period right now. When people start ramping up and saying, okay, I need a good agent or I need a good fund where I want to allocate my money to, they're going to go look at the person who says, hey, throughout that time period, Daniel was still providing me market updates, telling me what to look for, tell me what to put in. If you were an investor, what to look for, and if you're an investor looking to sell, what to be aware of. And
Right.
and it's that presence and I guess that value that you provide that I guess both for you as an individual is great, but also for your future audience.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree, man. And it's YouTube's the way to go because it's a search engine. I think it's powerful. I think if people study social media and understand it, you need to know the algorithm. If you understand the algorithm, you can explode and you can do really well. I have an appointment at 12 o'clock today
Okay,
with an investor who wants to sell 9 properties. And that's like that came from YouTube. You know,
that's amazing. Yeah,
how much money would you have to spend to get a lead like that to sit down for them for lunch? And the crazy thing is they called me and from the video, right? But otherwise you're pounding the phones, you're doing all this stuff, but when you understand how YouTube algorithm works, you can explode. And I spent tons of time studying and learning and testing and trial and error. And just to kind of give a little bit of a gist of it, YouTube is an ecosystem that focuses on 3 things: the viewer, right? The creator, and the advertiser. You need to make sure you satisfy all 3 of those people in your video, and you will win. And before, that's why, to give an example, people used to do clickbait all the time. Now clickbait doesn't work. It doesn't get pushed on YouTube anymore because what ended up happening was every time someone clicked on a video, the advertiser would pay and then the advertiser wouldn't get a return. So YouTube's algorithm, the AI changed and said, okay, hey, we can't have this because our advertisers are going to stop giving us money if people don't pay and they click on and click off. So, like,
right.
for example, the
Advertiser
viewer,
retention is what you got to think about as like the person
y-
making
y-
the content.
yeah. So the longer someone watches your video, the more money the advertiser pays, which then YouTube makes more money. So if you as the creator thinks about the viewer, which is the second part of the ecosystem, what do they want to watch? What do they like? What do they enjoy? How can I get them to stay longer? Then the third one, the advertiser wins, which means YouTube wins. Because YouTube's free platform. They pay those advertisements, right? So that's when you understand how all of that works, you
Right?
really can explode on YouTube.
And then this is what you're obviously doing to help the agents that work with you as part of their marketing and branding now, right?
Yeah, and that's also why, like, I don't want to make it sound like any cocky form of way, but when people ask me, "Are you worried about the real estate market?" I'm like, "No, I could start any business. I really believe that. I
Yeah,
can.
yeah, yeah.
I know how to make money. I know business now. I can start any business through YouTube, through social media, and grow it. Yeah, it's going to take some time to get it going again, but look how many jobs I've switched since I was like 16 years old. I've had so many, and some of them were because of, COVID hit or change of circumstance, or I just simply wanted to grow something bigger than what I had. And that's why I never really think about that stuff. But when you understand the social media game, I think, like, for agents that I help and stuff like that I talk to, it's the way to go. It's the best
That's
thing that you could do.
that's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear that. And obviously, it's led to a lot of your success. Have you, I guess, bring it back to all this? How, like, what have you been doing to kind of invest as you're doing this? Obviously, you're investing in yourself
Yeah.
at every which way. But from a financial perspective, or like, how did you, like, obviously, you found Jeff through YouTube and
Yeah.
you know us that way. But before you kind of invested with us, what were you like? What was your investing journey like?
I bought some properties with my family. I had student rentals as well.
Okay.
I did that for a while because I was with the property management company. So like we were also doing that where we were buying deals together, whether it was flips or hold on student rentals, and we'd all go in and we'd all split it. And it was perfect because we'd buy the property and then the property management company would manage it. Right. So that was all going really well. We did a lot of that. And then again, 2022, when the market started shifting, I just was like, okay, it's getting volatile now to do flips. So we slowed that down. Even the buy and holds that we had, the interest rates would change and the cash flow would shrink. And we had good cash flow off of them. But then when the interest rates went up, cash flow started going down. I was like, okay, I kind of feel like I'm sitting on money within these assets. So we sold them, and then I invest with you guys, and I have some stock, stuff like that, still into real estate, obviously, but just more careful with what I'm doing. And I focus a lot on my real estate business, so I like to be the passive guy. That's like just push the money out and let it come back to me, and like make the passive income because it's just less headache, more focused on my business and do what I need to do. And that's the thing, I see real estate agents, some of them, they make a good commission check and they don't do anything with the money. And you're like, man, I you can't leave it in the bank, you can't coddle it. I had that problem before where I would just like, want to hold on to all my money in the bank and protect it. And I was like listening to Grant Cardone talking about that, about how like people do that and it's the worst thing ever because inflation will beat it up. So you got to send it out. And that's what I started doing. And now every single bill I have, man, and then some is covered by cash flow. I don't need to worry about any of that. So
That's
it's
amazing.
such a beautiful thing to just no stress.
Awesome, man. And right now, is your cash flow predominantly coming from us, stocks?
Stock and a lot of it from you guys, man. Majority of
Nice.
the cash
Nice.
flow now is from with you guys, which is amazing, because I got a lot of trust for you guys. Like I said, I met Jeff through YouTube. And just to touch on that more, actually, I believe in authenticity with content. If you're authentic, you develop relationship with the viewer. And one of the things that sat with me a lot was Jeff would not just talk about his real estate. He talked about his family. He talked about being in the army. And I was not in the army. I have my family, but the army, I have a level of respect for this, a high level of respect for this. Just like martial arts, you develop discipline, you develop a lot of different traits and different aspects that, I always viewed it like I feel you guys would protect my money like he would his soldiers.
Yeah.
And that's how I always viewed it, literally. So I just saw the growth. I saw what you guys were doing, and you being an accountant, understanding money and doing what you've done. I was like, this is just, it's perfect. There's when someone doesn't understand the financial side, it can be a nightmare. When someone doesn't understand the discipline side of what everything needs to be taken care of, and actions of controlling a business, can be a nightmare. I know you, PV, and Jeff, you guys have that like perfect trio of covering everything. And man, I sleep great at night. I never worry about my funds. And I
Awesome.
have no problem putting more and more in whenever. So that's what I did. And now it's a beautiful thing, man. I don't worry about any bills, nothing. Even in a downward market, I don't have to stress about covering anything. Or I'm also like, one last thing is like I'm big on trying to not spend earned income. I'm big on spending passive income. Earned income I like to invest to grow the passive income, and that's a big thing.
Awesome, man. And so I guess if you could go back and tell yourself one thing, when you were, I don't know, let's call it when you were 18 training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, what would you tell yourself?
I probably would have said don't open that gym. Just go to another gym and not have a
Okay.
lease, not have a landlord. Keep bouncing between fitness gyms and just taking that portion, because that 60K that I spent to renovate could have went towards something passive while I still had that business. And I would have started investing passively a lot earlier than I did. I think I coddled my money for too long, and I
Yeah.
think that's a big mistake that a lot of people make. and they think I need X amount of dollars before I can start investing. I need to save at least 50 grand. I need to save 100 grand. You need to save 1,000.
You
That's
know,
it, you know?
I love how you said that,
And
Daniel, because
y-
that's a big thing that we get specifically for us is like, hey, can I?
yeah,
We made it so that even if people want to, like, technically it's 10,000, but if you're a young person who wants to get involved or you're just trying to get back on your feet, we're like, cool. We will maybe exception you depending on like if you're planning to
yeah,
like a 10K investment over time. If
yeah,
you want to do $1,000 chunks, because we get that. Look,
yeah.
what I didn't tell you is I started off when I graduated university in like OSAP debt, no money, not my parents. Like, I paid for my own schooling.
Wow, good for
I
you.
remember I had a accounting partner laugh at me because I was like, oh yeah, I invest in dividend paying stocks. I'm getting $5 a month, right? And then 6 months later,
Dude.
he's like, how much are you getting? $150 a month. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you laughed at me, right? But
Ah,
it stacks and compounds over time. So even like when we say $1,000 in the fund means you're getting $7 in cash flow,
yeah,
or
man.
$6 in cash flow. Like it adds up the more you stack
100%.
it, and over. It's funny. I guess it's obviously like whatever is in a compound over time is what's really going to pay you out. So even starting small early on gives you like large dividends.
Yeah, and when you guys opened up that $1,000 thing, people should do it. Instead, like they think like, oh, I might only make 5, $7 or $7 a year on that plus the dividend. But it compounds over time and you keep putting more in. And that's the thing. If like when you say like what I've done when you're younger, I think for anybody, if you're not doing anything passive, the biggest thing you should just try to do is start passive to cover one bill. Like
Yeah.
even if it's your cell phone,
That's what I
just
started with. I
one.
wanted to cover my cell phone bill because I was like, this is bullshit that I have to pay
Yeah.
Rogers $60 or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. And then you don't pay it off earned income. It pays off of the passive. And when you cover one bill, you don't have that expense anymore. And then try to cover two bills. Little by little, try to cover all of them. And I feel like that to me is financial freedom when you can cover all of your bills off passive income. Of course, then some, you have more. But yeah, man, it's like no matter what the market does, no matter what happens in business, I don't need to stress about that. And I think that opens up my mind to think more clearly to grow my business even more. So like I just think everybody should start by just trying to cover one bill. That's it. When you cover that one bill, you cover the next one. And like, everybody will tell you that when you're older, you'll know that. But when you're younger, it's like everyone tells you this and you're just kind of like, ah, whatever, man. You're living at home, you don't have these expenses. But that's what I would have done if I had to talk to myself earlier, because,
It's awesome.
it's beneficial, man.
Yeah, I mean, again, as we were talking about, it compounds, right? So, I mean, Daniel, honestly, thank you so much for being on today's episode of Build Your Foundation. I think everyone probably is going to love hearing about. I mean, even myself, I enjoyed hearing about your start from judo to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah.
travel across America basically to train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to starting a gym, and then eventually investing in real estate, and that giving you that financial security and safety to basically focus on your business while your family and yourself are taken care of. So I think it really embodies everything about building your foundation from that hard work, discipline, and then application of learning your lessons and going forward. So Daniel, I guess for the audience members, if they resonated with your story, like how can they reach out to you?
Probably Instagram. It's I'm Daniel Hale. You can follow me there, DM me, we can chat there. But yeah, that's probably the best place to go.
Yeah, are you still active on TikTok?
Not really. No, not really. It's I still have it. Maybe I'll post once every couple months on there for the joke side of things and fun, but not really. I saw the real estate. I'm all in on that now. I'm trying to no distractions for me right now.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Daniel. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
And
man. Appreciate it.
if you guys invest, you'll see Daniel Hill at one of our investor socials, and you can ask him all the questions you
Or
have.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fundraiser
There we go. There we go.
event.